Alrighty, everybody. Let's try it again. I'm recording from StreamYard, so I had to do it again. Alrighty, everybody. Welcome into this domain. This is my first time using StreamYard, so bear with me. My other laptop, my Windows laptop, is on a charger, so I'm using a Chromebook to do this. But today we're going to read through Ezekiel chapter 31 and 32. So, alright. Ezekiel chapter 31. Pharaoh has felled Cedar of Lebanon. In the 11th year, in the 3rd month of the first day, the word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, say to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and to his hordes, who can be compared with you in majesty? Considers Assyria once as a cedar in Lebanon, the beautiful branches overshadowing the forest. It towered on high, its top above the thick foliage. The waters nourished it. Deep springs made it grow tall. Their streams flowed all around its base and sent their channels to all the trees of the field. So it towered higher than all the trees of the field. It, it boughs increased. Its boughs increased, and its branches grew long, spreading because of the abundant waters. All the birds of the sky nested in its boughs. All the animals of the wild gave birth under its branches. All great nations lived in its shade. It was majestic in beauty, with its spreading boughs, for the roots went down to abundant waters. The cedar in the great garden of God could not rival it, nor could the juniper equal its boughs, nor could the plane trees compare with its branches. No tree in the garden of God could match its beauty. I made it beautiful for its beauty. Its branches were the trees of Eden in the garden of foreigner nations cut it down and left it. Its boughs fell on the mountain and all the valleys. Its branches lay broken in all ravines of the land. All the nations of earth came out from under its shade and left it. All the birds settled on the fallen tree, and the wild animals lived among its branches. Therefore, no other trees by the waters are ever a tower proudly on high, lifting their tops above the thick foliage on other trees, so well watered, are ever to reach such a height. They are all destined for death, for the earth below among mortals who go down to the realm of the dead. This is what the sovereign Lord says. On the day it was brought down to the realm of the dead, I covered the deep springs with mourning for it. I held back its streams, and its abundant waters were restrained. Because of it, I clothed Lebanon with gloom, and all its trees of the fields withered away. I made the nations tremble at the sound of its falling when I brought it down to the realm of the dead, to be with those who go down to the pit. Then all the trees of Eden, the choicest and best of Lebanon, well watered trees, were consoiled in the earth. They too, like the great cedar, have gone down to the realm of the dead, to those who killed by the sword along with the armed men who lived in its shade among the nations. Which of the trees of Eden can be compared with you in splendor and majesty? Yet you too have brought down with the trees of Eden to the earth below. You will lie among the uncircumcised with those who killed by the sword. This is Pharaoh and all his hordes, declares the sovereign Lord. So he's saying that the Lord's saying basically that he made the land so great that it was once a tree. He explained it as a tree, and that everything that lived in its shade and its branches and all that, everything was good. And then at some point, like this big description of how like as the land became defiled by the people, it fell down. That's what that means. It fell. And he's saying it went down to the land of the dead. This land was apparently very, very majestic. If you paid attention from the beginning, and then you described about it as a dead tree later on. So that's what he was getting at with all of this. You know, this does happen where a land is so great, and then over the course of time, it changes up. And you know, it is the same way with everything, where everything could be good for a period of time, and then just change and become like this tree that fell to the dead and stuff like that. And these metaphors are basically back to, you know, it goes from the metaphors are basically something he was metaphoring towards it being good at one point, and then metaphoring towards it being bad at another point. So we're going to get into chapter 32, a lament over Pharaoh. Chapter 32. In the 12th year, in the 12th month, on the first day, the word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, take up a lament concerning Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and say to him, you are like a lion among nations. You are like a monster in the seas, thrashing about in your streams, churning the water with your feet, and muddying the streams. This is what the sovereign Lord says. With a great throng of people, I will cast my net over you, and they will haul you up in my net. I will throw you on the land and hurl you on the open field. I will let the birds of the sky settle on you, and all the animals of the wild gorge themselves on you. I will spread you like flesh on the mountains, and fill the valley with your remains. I will drench the land with your flowing blood. I will all the way to the mountains, and the ravines will be filled with your flesh. When I snuff you out, I will cover the heavens and darken their stars. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon will not give its light. All shining lights of heaven in the heavens I will darken over you. I will bring darkness over your land, declares the sovereign Lord. I will trouble the hearts of many people when I bring about your destruction among the nations, among the lands you have not known. I will cause my people to be appalled at you, and their kings will shudder with horror because of you. And when I brandish my sword before them on the day of your downfall, each of them will tremble every moment of his life, for this is what the sovereign Lord says. The sword of the king of Babylon will come against you. I will cause your hordes to fall by the sword of the mighty men. The most ruthless of all nations, they will shatter the pride of Egypt, and all her hordes will be overthrown. I will destroy all her cattle, beside abundant waters. No longer will be stride by foot of man, or muddy by hoofs of cattle. Then I will let her water settle, and make her streams flow like oil, declares the sovereign Lord. When I make Egypt desolate and strip the land of everything in it, when I strike down all those who live there, they will know that I am the Lord. This is the lament they will chant for her daughter of the nations. I will chant it. Nations will chant it. For Egypt and all her hordes, they will chant it, declares the sovereign Lord. Egypt's descended in the realm of the dead. In the 12th year of the 15th day of the month, the word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, wail for hordes of Egypt, and co-sign to the earth below, both her and her daughter of mighty nations, along with those who go down to the pit. Say to them, you are more favored than others. Go down and be laid among the uncircumcised, and they will fall among those killed by the sword. The sword is drawn, let her be dragged off with all her hordes. From within the realm of the dead, the mighty leader will say to Egypt and all her allies, they come down and they will lie with the uncircumcised, with those who killed by the sword. Assyria is there with her whole army. She is surrounded by grief of all her sin, of all her slain, all who have fallen by the sword. Their graves are in the depths of the pit, and her army lies around her grave. All who spread terror in the land of the living are slain, fallen by the sword. Elam is there with her hordes around her grave. All of them are slain, fallen by the sword. All who were spread, all who had spread in the land, territory in the land of the living, went down uncircumcised to the earth below. They bear their shame with those who go down to the pit. A bed is made for her among the slain, with all her hordes around her grave all the time are uncircumcised, killed by the sword, because their terror has spread in the land of the living. They bear their shame with those who go down to the pit. They are laid among slain. Meshech and Tubal are there with all their hordes around their graves. All of them are uncircumcised, killed by the sword, because they spread their terror in the land of the living. But they do not lie with the fallen warriors of old, who went down to the realm of the dead with their weapons of war. Their swords placed under their heads, and their shields resting on their bones. So these warriors also had terrorized the land of the living. You too, Pharaoh, will be broken and will lie among the uncircumcised, with those killed by the sword. Edom is there, her king and all her princes, despite their power, they are laid with those killed by the sword. They lay with the uncircumcised, with those who go down to the pit. All the princes of the north and all the Sidonians are there. They went down with the slain in disgrace despite the terror caused by their power. They lie uncircumcised with those killed by the sword, and bear their shame with those who go down to the pit. Pharaoh, he and all his army will see them, and he will be consoled for all his hordes. They were killed by the sword, declares the sovereign Lord. Although I had him spread terror in the land of the living, Pharaoh and all his hordes will be laid among the uncircumcised, with those killed by the sword, declares the sovereign Lord. All right. So that one there again, the Lord is just he's saying that everybody that that he mentioned here, they're all gonna go down to the land of the dead, which means they're all gonna go to hell. um, and that he's not really having remorse on any of these people because of all the things they did, especially Pharaoh. He was specifically mad at Pharaoh. He's been mad at Pharaoh forever because Pharaoh was an Egyptian, and most Egyptians leaned in towards the dark arts and paganism, and the Lord just didn't like that. And that's you can see that amongst these people that are into paganism. You can see that it like really it tears their soul apart, and they turn into a different form of human being and all that. And hard to it's hard sometimes to just stay away from that kind of stuff, because in the New Testament it does say something about aren't paganists like that. So God really doesn't want us to go into paganism, but he wants us to treat them with as much kindness, but also at the same time, the term kill them with kindness, because I looked it up and read a little bit of it. And I'm like, this just sounds like he just really doesn't. He's he says treat them with kindness, but treat them overly with kindness, meaning to the point where killing them with kindness, meaning like be so kind to them that you're doing the same thing to them that they've done to you. And that's just something I've taken in from it. A lot of people read that and they're like, love thy enemy. No, the truth is, love your enemy enough to be nice to them. But when they turn on you, be as fierce as Jesus Christ was, who flipped tables on people because he didn't. Jesus Christ was pretty fierce, and you got to look at it that way. These people who believe in Jesus Christ are like the wrong ones, the hippies. They believe Jesus Christ was this really peaceful individual going around. In the reality, the truth is, there's pictures of Jesus Christ whipping people. Now, one story wasn't necessarily talked about, but he flipped tables. He got mad when people like were doing a certain sin. He got mad at them. So just remember, Jesus Christ wasn't very peaceful at all. And in fact, if you go read in Revelations, the one verse says Jesus Christ comes back with fire in his eyes. It means he's mad. He's mad. And that's just something like I look at everything in this Bible the most. I look at those parts because I want to see why people think that. Okay, so the Bible is written metaphorically. Okay, so you got to look at it as like reading a poem. If you read a poem, you understand the poem, and then you understand its deeper meaning. You read in between a line, you kind of understand it better. So a lot of people don't sit there and read between the lines. So that's why they do things the way they do them. So that's just my take on it. Again, going back to real life, this all does come back to real life as always, because it references to things that going on in the world and how people are handling stuff. So, but anyway, I'm out of here for today. I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. God bless, and have a good Monday, good Memorial Day, and take it easy. Oh, wow.